Well, hello, that's me again. Today is August 1st, 2024. It is Monday, evidently. Happy Monday, everybody. So, and let's start with the things which I'm not specialist in, but I need to kind of, cover it a little bit. It is the assassination of the Hamas leading man, and by evidently Mossad or whoever was hired there to do so. Actually, some people say that these were British, which I wouldn't put that past them that they did this. But obviously he was assassinated. Now the alleged photo of the place where he was assassinated is this. So obviously there was no any kind of the cruise missile or what have you. As New York Times now reports, there was a bomb which was already placed there months before his staying there. And this is, of course, the situation with the special forces and intelligence services of Iran, because he was staying there periodically. Whenever he was going to Iran, he was staying in the same place. I don't know. They have to really check it now, who could have possibly done that, because it does look like something from the inside was blown up. And so, as Mr. Medvedev, the deputy chair of the Russia Security Council, went on the record, and this is pretty much, terrifying for those people who have the stake in the stability of the region, and we all want the stability and peaceful situation there, but here it is. So this is Mr. Medvedev yesterday in his Telegram channel saying that the knot is tightening in the Middle East. Sorry for the innocent lives lost. They are but hostages of a disgusting state, the USA. Meanwhile, it is clear to everyone that a full-scale war is the only way to shake a peace in the region. And he is probably right, and that might actually degenerate into the regional war, obviously, because Israel, and again, make no mistake, I defer here to people who know about the matter way more than me. Israel wants United States to go in and fight Iran. That's their obsession, and this is the only way, evidently, for Netanyahu to survive. So, and as Mr. Jeffrey Sachs stated at Judge Knapp's yesterday, I believe, so he said, well, straightforward, and we knew it all along, that the U.S. is subservient to Israel. After you see this despicable, disgusting 56 standing ovations by Republicans, primarily Republicans in the Congress, to Mr. Netanyahu BS, which they call speech. So there you go. Everything you need to know about that United States is essentially its extension, as I already stated, of Israel, and the Congress is basically subservient body of Knesset, and Americans evidently feel okay with this. So, well, what can I say? Nothing I can do about it, and it's just the way it is, and probably it's going to be the regional war, and obviously Russia will not allow Iran to be harmed to the point of no return. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, they put now their ships, evidently, even the Great Britain, actually the motherland, the initial place of the Christian Zionism, and Scofield Bible, which was of course published by Oxford University Press. So they also move whatever they have there, rowing boats, or I don't know, so some sailboats. But yeah, they are getting ready to fight on behalf of Israel. So because obviously IDF, Israeli Defense Force, is not capable of fighting Hezbollah on its own, out of its own means. And as Mr. Pulikovsky, former general and one of the commanders in the Chechnya wars, and he stated a few weeks actually, probably 2 weeks, I would say, ago, that yeah, the whole mythology, the whole this have been destroyed of the Israel Defense Force as some kind of the super pooper regional military. It is not. The only thing they have, obviously, they have all the Israeli Air Force, which can bomb people who cannot shoot back. Well, although Hezbollah probably does have means to shoot back in terms of air defense. So that's it. That's the thing, which we have to I have to explain to you. And so I want to also stress that already in 2004, June 16th, there was this group which was called Diplomats and Military Commanders for Change, and they made official statement when in regards to Mr. Bush administration, the W, and they already spoke then that the Bush administration has shown it doesn't grasp circumstances of the new era and is not able to rise to the responsibilities of the world leadership in their style or substance. It is time for a change. And they were actually correctly, pointing out to Mr. Bush Jr. administration, which was infested with the neocons and people who had no clue about warfare. And we all know how it all ended in Iraq and how it all ended in Afghanistan. And obviously nobody believed after like 3-4 years that it was the global war on terror. You cannot find their tactics, so. And this is just the demonstration of it. So, but now let's get to, so to speak, our goals. And I will start with this. New York Times already was writing on July 26. You remember I covered it a little bit, that a mysterious plot prompts a rare call from Russia to the Pentagon. And they report that actually Russia's defense minister said he needs to talk to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin about an alleged Ukrainian operation. What happened next remains murky. Actually, it's not. But that's New York Times and it's American media. And so they talk about that since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, Mr. Austin has spoken by phone with Russia's defense minister only 5 other times, almost always at the Pentagon's initiative. In fact, Mr. Austin had reached out to the Russia's new defense minister Andrei Belousov just a couple of weeks earlier on June 25th. And then they continue. New York Times says that now on July 12th, Mr. Belousov was calling to relay a warning, according to the U.S. officials and another officials briefed on the call. The Russians had detected a Ukrainian covert operation in the works against Russia that they believe had the Americans' blessing. Was the Pentagon aware of the plot? Mr. Belousov asked Mr. Austin, and its potential to ratchet up tensions between Moscow and Washington. And so the New York Times says that despite Ukraine's deep dependence on the United States for military intelligence and diplomatic support, Ukrainian officials are not always transparent with their American counterparts about their military operations, especially those against Russian targets behind enemy lines. Baloney. That is complete garbage. And now we have the explanation on the Russian side from none other than Mr. Ryabkov, first deputy of the foreign minister, and he talks about what Belousov did. It was a stern warning, that's correct, and as you can see yourself, TASS reports it yesterday. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov, in a conversation with U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin on July 12, sent a very serious warning to the head of Pentagon about the possibility of an uncontrolled escalation due to the actions of Kiev and Washington. This was stated to TASS by Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov. And here is the fundamental difference. While New York Times continues to BS its audience and those naive people who still believe that this is a reliable news source, actually Moscow has no illusions about the role of the United States and the fact that, as have been stated many times, the whole military and intelligence operations are run by Washington and to a certain degree by London. And that means that Belousov warned Austin about what Austin and actually most in the US administration do not want, at least for now, the dramatic escalation and getting out of control of this whole cluster coitus which United States has created in Ukraine. And obviously everybody has to understand simple things. The United States is desperate in many respects, and that is why they need to crawl out of this mayhem they created, and they lost already militarily. So Russians are aware that the United States will stop at nothing, including the annihilation of, for example, at least attempts of annihilation of some strategic assets, attacks which are continuing today, but something much more serious in terms of blowing up some nuclear power station or killing very many Russian civilians, which United States already basically got itself involved directly. United States is culpable of killing Russian civilians. And now when Mr. Belousov called to Mr. Austin, naturally, he said that if you want to go that way, and here's the difference. Sadly, I cannot provide you, there are direct links to, for example, our conversation with me and Vladimir Trukhan and Oleg Shalandin, my friends, officers, and Vera on her platform, Politvera, which, by the way, whose channel have been, deleted by YouTube. Welcome to the freedom of speech. And so, we have been discussing this from the get-go. That's what many people do not understand. Russians are ready to go global if it comes down to it. Mr. Putin said so much. Mr. Medvedev, Mr. Lavrov. Obviously, Russians are not interested of going out and, of course, also dying for this. But they are ready. United States is not. And that's what Belousov told Austin. And most likely the only way United States can do anything about anything is to go nuclear, because there's nothing much left in the United States in terms of its gas tank. It's literally running on the fumes. And I will explain now why. But before we go there, so we have them now the situation that they report that, oh yeah, F-16 arrived to Ukraine. Sure, I mean, they say that the first batch of US-made F-16 fighter jets has arrived in Ukraine. Bloomberg reports, and the number of warplanes is small. So, and Norway and Netherlands are really kind of trying to transfer those planes to Ukraine. It won't make any difference whatsoever. Russian VKS are now probably getting, those line, the queue, trading their place in line to who will first fly and kill the first F-16. So, but other than that, I mean, this is all, absolutely useless. The Ukraine says that, oh yeah, they already flew in air defense role. Well, the only thing they can carry is the actually Sidewinder, and, well, I don't think so. United States even gives them AIM-120 MRAM, and these are the older versions. So, yeah, they can shoot down a drone or two. I don't think so they are capable of shooting down the really advanced missiles, which are even subsonic. Forget about shooting down actually something like, hypersonic. It's just ridiculous. So, well, but yeah, this all about, trying to do something and appear to be strong. So, and the desperation is so huge that we have this guy. And this is foreign policy, make no mistake, it's the neocons, it's a bunch of the cretins there writing there, like this dude Douglas London, he former CIA operations officer. So he was an Asian operation officer. He now teaches all those nincompoops in this degree mill called Georgetown University in preparation for the, foreign service. So we know that what American diplomacy nowadays is, it's a joke, basically, as is CIA, by the way. So they can kill, obviously, with family or two, or kill somebody else, but that's about it. So guess what? They come up with this thing. Would the US consider assassinating Putin? It's 2 days ago. So this Douglas London, who was 34 years in Asia somewhere, he obviously has no clue about Russia, as most people in Washington do not have. So, and he talks about, like classic BS about, cost and benefits. So you cannot fix those people. And again, you have to understand they are very uncultured, very uneducated. And all this type, even this title or headline of this article, if Russians would come up with this, talking about that, yeah, would Russia consider assassinating, let's say, Biden? Okay, not that he needs any kind of, activities against him. He's barely alive. But that would have been a scandal of the huge proportions. Well, here we have this foreign policy. They pretend that they know anything about foreign policy, which they don't, but they publish this garbage. And this is a wet dreaming. This is a very hard coping of the sore losers. And, pardon me, that was important, I couldn't miss it. So anyhow, so we have the situation, coping, gigantic coping. And to understand why there's a gigantic coping, and here are some latest data. It's about the losses of the armed forces of Ukraine. As you can see yourself, it was yesterday quite a bit. The harvest, it continues, and 7 tanks and APCs, 24 armored vehicles, 30 artillery mortars. Russians don't even count those UAVs. And for people who still have any issues about drones, as defense minister stated, and Russia gets daily up to 4,000 FPVs daily on the front lines, both from industry and from laboratories which have been deployed, small shops which make those. And those are sophisticated pieces of machinery. So there you go. That's what you have. So make your own conclusions about this. So, and just to demonstrate to you how it is all happening and why there is so much desperation on the part of the American so-called diplomats and all people like of this the CIA dude who this wants to assassinate Putin. So here we have the situation, for example, of Kharkov. As you can see yourself, it was yesterday. If you take a look at those punctured lines, you will see yourself that Russians continue to move into the, the like 10 kilometers in depth. Each day there is 1, 2, sometimes 4 kilometers forward. Just for example, like Toretsk. As you can see yourself, this is Toretsk. Russians are already in New York, and New York is essentially, for all intents and purposes, the center is taken, so they're just pushing out the remnants of whatever was left there of the armed forces of Ukraine. As you can see yourself, also the nice cauldron is being formed there, including, as you can see yourself, on the Peshchane and Toretsk. Actually, just latest news, Russians are already in Toretsk. So as you can see yourself, by the scale, we're looking at each day, 2, 5 kilometers. So yeah, it's the territory continues to fall, but Russians are not in rush, as I already stated. But desperation is so huge that we have suddenly, those old kinds of clowns from NATO, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs, James O'Brien, says a new approach will be developed in the coming months, for NATO. NATO is developing a new strategy to deal with Russia. So O'Brien told the meeting that the U.S., it was on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearings, and he told the meeting that the U.S. wants Ukraine to win and is providing all the materials necessary. So obviously it's complete lie, and fact is NATO cannot develop any strategy because United States doesn't know what strategy is, and I will explain you why. So one of the vehicles to explain this whole cluster coitus with the, well, people evidently like this phrase, cluster coitus. I would love to use profanities, but I want to also keep my channel alive here in YouTube, on YouTube. So, and here it is. We have now suddenly this report. This is a report of the Congress people, so which have the, Congresswoman Jay Harman is the chair of this, General John Keane, and immediately, if you have General Keane, you can throw it away because the guy doesn't understand what he's talking about. Roger Zachheim and all those, manner of people who never won anything in their life, but here it is, Commission on the National Defense Strategy. So, and they begin to discuss this National Defense Strategy, and guess what they get us into? So, and the summary is pretty much straightforward. The threats to the United States faces are the most serious and most challenging the nation has encountered since 1945 and include the potential for near-term major war. Well, I mean, United States is the main cause of this major war because these people still cannot recognize that America is not hegemon. But hey, whatever, the United States last fought a global conflict during World War II, which ended nearly 80 years ago. They should remind everybody how the United States fought the global conflict in the World War II. And that is very important because while definitely Pacific Theater of Operation was actually tremendously important, no doubt about it, it was primarily naval war in which United States from the get-go had the huge advantage over Japan. But here they talk about Europe, that's a completely different story. And so they talk that the nation was last prepared for such a fight during the Cold War, which ended 35 years ago. It is not prepared today. Well, I have actually news for them. It wasn't prepared even during the Cold War, but it was ready to go nuclear almost immediately. But here they state that China and Russia, major powers that seek to undermine U.S. influence. They don't seek to undermine U.S. influence. They are undermining the U.S. influence, and it will continue until the United States is removed completely from the control of the world through primarily its political and financial institutions, because militarily the United States is already in no position to fight even, as they condescendingly call it, near peer. So, the 2022 National Defense Strategy recognizes these nations as the top threats to the United States and declares China to be the pacing challenge based on the strengths of its military and economy and its intent to exert dominance regionally and globally. Well, nothing you can do about it, and the United States obviously helped China this way, but yeah, what do you expect? So, and now they talk about, so here comes this garbage. Of course, these people are not teachable. You cannot teach average American politician or average American military that they have no clue what they're talking about. And they don't. They have no understanding of Russia. They have no understanding of actual economy. Because ask any of them. They don't. And so they talk about that Russia will devote 29% of its federal budget this year on the national defense if it continues to reconstitute its military and economy after its failed invasion of Ukraine in 2022. So yeah, they are sore losers. Having General Kim there, these guys, again, as I already stated, they never won anything in their life. They are at most mediocre tactical level military people, despite they are all huge stars, and they don't understand what strategy is. They, as I already stated, take any American general or admiral, and they will not pass any entrance exam into the war Russian equivalents, which are much wider and much more comprehensive. War colleges, let alone Academy of the General Staff. Yet here they are, same people who lost everything they ever fought and tried to run. They are continuing to talk about strategy. So they continue to report that closing the operational industrial planning gap. DoD faces a discontent between its operational planning and its industrial planning. Well, I can give you one example, and I was on record. I wrote the book on that, and actually I wrote more than one book on that there is no serious operational planning in Pentagon. They do not know what operational planning for the real war is, and let alone combination of this operation planning and its industrial planning. Looks like they started to reading my book, but hey, the war in Ukraine is a reminder that the modern warfare at industrial scale requires a tight connection between the needs of warfighters and the priorities of industrial-based policy. Mobilizing the U.S. industry in the event of protracted conflict requires DoD as well as the interagency and industry partners to engage in detailed planning tailored to specific contingencies. So a lot of big words, as you can see yourself. Obviously, people, as I already stated, neither Zakheim, nor Kim, nor whoever in the Congress, they have any clue what they're dealing with, because if they even want to fight conventional war with Russia, there is a huge difference. even if we imagine this conventional scenario, let me put it this way. Russia can reach any industrial facility within United States conventionally. United States cannot do the same against Russia. But these are people who still, being one-trick ponies, they think only in the templates, and they are not very cultured and educated militarily, including American generals, of course. They still think that the thing will be happening in Europe somewhere. No, it will grow immediately into something else, and if United States wants to keep it conventional, Russia will gladly oblige. And so they continue to report in this report that, oh yeah, the defense industrial base and NGS implementation, the joint force relies, and immediately, United States doesn't have joint force. They want to use this thing, but United States never fought as the joint force. All this is crap for the consumption of people who have no clue about military operational planning, how it is all happening. And there we go. So if we go, they talk about, however, the commission, they talk about obviously the complete collapse of industrial base. However, the commission finds that insufficient U.S. defense production capacity represents major challenges for the implementation of national defense strategy. As a result of unclassified public war games, suggests that in a conflict with China, the United States would largely exhaust its munition inventories in as few as 3 to 4 weeks, with some important munitions, for example, anti-ship missiles, lasting only a few days. So, which is correct, and the question here is that it's not gonna change. I'm talking about the systemic collapse of the United States, or systemic crisis of the United States, which is actually a euphemism for the collapse. They will not be able to do anything. Of course, they created this report only for the use of the big words, and primarily is asking for more. They do not understand that they bankrupted themselves, not only because obviously they never understood what is the actual size, or what actual size of the American economy is, and they have no grasp of it. They just have been run through all those US degree meals, and they know only financial indices. That's the only thing they know, and then suddenly they recognize, oh, industrial warfare, really? What about you learning the actually military history and real economy? But it is what it is for them, and they are desperate, and the question is, they cannot fix it. Let me explain why they cannot fix it. 2 points. United States doesn't have general staff. Period. It doesn't have culture, it doesn't have military culture of that, it doesn't have winning record, real winning record. When you go with your country as a whole, you fight the war and you win it. Russians did it for centuries. So, and Russian general staff actually is older than United States as a state. So, and they don't have this culture. They have the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It's not general staff. It's a harmonization organ of the, well, all those programs and plans that different services provide. And then, of course, it is all realized on the level of the commands. Many of those commands, like Euro command or African command, they do not even really intersect each other that much. So they think about, general terms on their specific theater. Russians think globally, and general staff conducts, read my lips again, command and control, operational command of the Russian armed forces, and it sets up the development of the armed forces, not least through the chief of the general staff, who communicates with the, obviously, defense minister, whom he is the first deputy, and of course to the president and Security Council of Russia. United States has nothing like this, and it will not have it. So because of that, and especially because they do not understand the most fundamental thing, when they talk about, again, they do not know how real operations are done. They really don't. You lose this art, because operational art is called art, not only science. For a reason, if you think so that fighting Iraq or Afghanistan gives you good operational planners, well, I have a bridge to sell you. You have to exercise the highest level of military competence, which starts with the, for example, military education in Russia, and I do not want even go there. American military education and service education is a joke compared to Russian military education. I know some people will not like what they hear, but then there is another thing, and here we come to the most important thing. What kind of tie-in of operational planning, granted that it sucks and it's amateurish, and with the industrial base? What industrial base? Let me give you an example. Here we have, for example, it's even from Wikipedia, which is correct. This is Russian Rostec. And look at this, how it states. Rostec, Russian Rostec, formally trading as state corporation, Rostec. Fully the state corporation, and again, state. Do you know what it means, state? That means it's completely state-owned. It is, obviously they give you very old data. It's a colossal corporation, which includes in itself airspace, includes the shipbuilding, includes all high-tech research, and this is gigantic cluster of the high-tech enterprises, which, by the way, operate precisely on the guidance of the Russian General Staff and Russian government, because they are state-owned. If you think so that marketplace will provide you with the best weapons, look at the history of American weapons. Most of them suck. And as I already stated, in terms of anti-ship missile, United States is not even in the same league. It's not even in the same universe with Russia. In terms of air defense, the same. How are you going to close this gap? You cannot close this gap, because from the foundation, it's a cultural foundation, it's a national experience foundation. United States loves big, expensive things because obviously all those corporations are private owned, and they love to do their own stocks buybacks and pay their shareholders. It is all about profit, and you cannot change it. You cannot change it DNA, no matter how you try. DNA is DNA. And you know what? I have DNA of Andrei Martyanov, a specific DNA. If I want to become, somebody else by changing my DNA, I cannot do that. I can destroy my DNA, but I cannot do anything about it to become something which I am, or somebody which I am not. Well, United States cannot do that. You cannot overturn this short history of the United States, whose, as my friends correctly state, and I agree with them, United States' greatest achievements came not in the military field. Except for the Pacific War, that's pretty much, there's nothing there, which really warrants a gigantic admiration and studying. So, I mean, with the all respect and heroism and dedication of American GIs who fought, for example, the World War II. But it's already have been the end of the war, and Hitler was defeated anyway. So, but America's greatest achievement came when it was behind the plow. American industrial, technological genius, enterprising spirit, and of course Bill of Rights. These are the main achievements of the United States. Not some kind of the attempts to, steal valor and then confabulate own military history without understanding that they are really newcomers. They never understood what it is fighting for own land, fighting for own family, fighting for own property, and defend their nation. Come to speak about it today, 2024, sadly, United States doesn't even look like a nation, unified nation. And here we are. They want to go into this national defense new strategy. They don't even know what strategy is. They don't do strategic planning, and read my lips. And, well, people from CIA, they watch my channel. I know this for sure. United States doesn't have strategic intelligence and strategic forecasting as such. It is a joke. And so that's what I wanted to tell you guys about today. And what can I say? I will not take your time anymore. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon and buy me a coffee and too. And what can I say? Have a nice rest of your week. And I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.